I'm Angela Willis, and on today's episode of Women That Kill, we look at Hattie Livermore Whitten, who was convicted of murdering her family by poisoning them. This case helps us understand the American Opium Epidemic of the 1800s. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe and like this video. Hattie Whitten was born in 1862 in Dover, Maine. She had one sister, and her parents were David and Esther Livermore. She married Harry E. Whitten. They had 3 children, 2 daughters, Fanny and Jenny, and one older son named Louis. In 1900, Harry died. After his death, Hattie became addicted to morphine. People close to Hattie noticed her behavior changed once she became addicted to morphine. Morphine was discovered by an uneducated 21-year-old pharmacist assistant with little equipment but loads of curiosity. In a series of experiments performed in his spare time, he isolated an organic compound secreted by the opium poppy. His compound was 10 times stronger than the processed opium at the time. He named that substance morphine after Morpheus, the Greek god of dreams, because the drug's tendency to make a person sleep. Doctors viewed morphine as a wonder drug that could relieve almost any medical issues such as pain, asthma, headaches, gastrointestinal disease, and cramps. Once given, morphine cured patients immediately, and it became extremely popular. The Civil War helped to set off America's opiate epidemic. The Union Army alone issued nearly 10 million opium pills to its soldiers, plus 2.8 million ounces of opium powder. An unknown number of soldiers returned home addicted to opium. By 1895, roughly 1 in 200 Americans were addicted to morphine. The typical morphine addict in America was an upper class or middle class white woman. Women made up around 60% of opium addicts. Many became addicted after their doctors prescribed opium for cramps. Throughout the 1870s and 1880s, medical journals began to warn of the dangers of morphine addiction. But many doctors continued to give it to their patients because of inadequate medical education and a shortage of other treatments. Women like Hattie continued to be prescribed morphine. Despite her drug addiction, Hattie decided to move her family to a new town, Dexter, in 1902. Within weeks of moving to Dexter, Hattie's youngest daughter, Fanny, who was healthy, died suddenly. Hattie received $85 from an insurance policy on her daughter. That's the equivalent of $2,700 in 2022. A month after Fanny's death, Jenny and Louis noticed that their mother's mental health rapidly deteriorated. Not long after, tragedy struck again. The 9-year-old Jenny also died suddenly from what was supposed to be heart failure. But authorities were suspicious after discovering that Jenny was insured for $50 by her mother. The police requested that Dr. Murphy do an autopsy on Jenny. To his shock, he discovered traces of arsenic and other poisons in Jenny's body. This led to him issuing an arrest warrant for murder. The doctor believed that the children likely ingested the poisons in a form of oil so they could easily pass through the stomach and into the intestines. Hattie was arrested after attending her daughter's funeral. While local police held Hattie in custody, Fanny's body, the first daughter who died, was exhumed and tested as well. The autopsy found traces of poison in her body. Hattie was arrested and charged for Jenny's murder. She pled not guilty to the charges. Deputy Leslie Curtis held her in custody, but he allowed her to stay in her son's home the night before turning herself in. The following morning, on November 30th, the deputy took the suspect into his home where he kept her under house arrest. Hattie never made a statement about the murders. The police uncovered a possible motive. Although the police initially began to investigate because of the insurance policies, police discovered that Hattie had been dating a man named Serto, whom she had planned to marry. However, the man refused to marry her because Hattie had children. This likely led to Hattie's decision to end her daughter's lives. With her daughters out of the way, her oldest son, who was already living on his own, that would have made Hattie available to marry. We don't know if her addiction to opium had influenced this decision or not. But we do know that the addiction to opium continued even in this new town. So I guess because it was so widely used at the time that the police did not investigate this as a motive or having some type of impact on the murders. Because so many women were addicted to opium, it was just seen as a common thing. Investigators also disclosed circumstantial evidence supporting her guilt. A day before Fanny's death, Hattie was seen buying arsenic and castor oil. During the investigation, detectives revealed that Jenny took a job door to door selling items to buy her mother a Christmas gift the day before she was poisoned. Many people who encountered Jenny that day she was selling items noted that she was in excellent health and did not show any signs of being sick at all. And here's where things get very sad. After Hattie poisoned Jenny, Jenny became extremely sick and in pain. But Hattie delayed getting her daughter medical treatment. Instead of using a phone to call Dr. Murphy, Jenny suffered because her mother decided to send a postcard through the mail requesting the doctor to come treat her sick daughter. The doctor only lived half a mile away and could have come to Jenny's aid within 15 minutes of receiving a phone call. Instead, the doctor did not get the postcard until several days after Jenny had suffered, and the doctor could do nothing to save her. No trial ever occurred. On November 30th, 1902, Hattie hung herself in her cell while in the custody of Deputy Sheriff Curtis. And that's kind of how Hattie's story ends. She never made a statement about any of it. Just kind of killed herself before the reality of what she did really set in, and people all found out what she did. And so she ended up dead and the case was closed. So at the end of every video, I like to look at the killer's zodiac sign to see if it can give me more insight into the person. Hattie was born on July 24th, 1862. That makes her a Leo. Significant characteristics of a Leo are that they are bold, warm, and loving. They are ruled by their heart. They are confident and trust their instincts. I think Hattie was a true Leo. She has a lot of the characteristics. Her children adored her. She was very loving and warm to them. And we don't really know if the changes in her were due to the extreme drug use, long-term drug use, or if she was depressed from losing her first husband. But we also know other characteristics of the zodiac sign, which is that they are ruled by their heart. And I think this pretty well shows the fact that she was willing to kill her own children to be with the man she loves, and shows how far she would go for love. Yes, she is definitely a Leo. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to learn more about women that kill, please check out some of my other videos. And also make sure you come back tomorrow where I will upload a new episode of Women That Kills. Bye everyone.